Welcome, everybody. Today is my very first day broadcasting live on multiple platforms, so I am trying to figure it out. Thank you for bearing with me. I'll fly away up there. There we go. That's better. Okay, so before I get into it of telling you who I am and what we are doing here today, I want you guys to tell me how your day is going, parenting or otherwise. Drop a 1 in the chat if your day is going perfect. Everything is fantastic. Happy to be here. Drop a 2 if it's so, going pretty good, but could be better. That's definitely me. Today is my son's first day taking end of grade assessments. So he's a little anxious. Today is my first day live streaming on multiple platforms. So I am a little nervous, but otherwise fantastic. Could be better, but we'll get there. And if your day is a total, drop a 3 in the chat, even if you're watching this post-production. So my name is Danielle Kelly. I am a parenting coach. And I came to be such a parenting coach because 9 years ago I became a parent, and about 2 years after that I became a really, really stressed out parent. True enough, I was going through a divorce and learning how to ADHD parent, so I had a lot of adjustments to make, but it just kind of felt like I was triggered all the time, and yeah, it kind of felt like this can't be it. This is not what I had signed up for, right? So I entered my first positive parenting training, which completely changed my life. My son's daycare offered it for free. So I thought, perfect timing. I'm going to drop in and see what this is like. And it was so profound that I've literally completed a positive parent training every year since then. So I'm 6 years in, definitely already completed mine for this year. And each time I hit the training, it always hits somewhere different in my life. Like, for instance, when I started, it was tantrums and, bedtime routines, things like that. Then it sort of transitioned into social cues and learning our social engagement. And then now it's me learning to accept his independence and foster that, and communication all throughout. But from that positive parent training, I also went on to complete mindful and conscious parent training. And last year I completed behavioral therapy to help me parent my ADHD son. A lot of training. I don't regret any of it. It has completely helped me transform my relationship with my child. And since that day, my coach asked me, would you like to put all of your knowledge to use? And I was like, what do you mean? And she was like, you could teach other people how you found patience in ADHD parenting. And I was like, yeah, I would love to do that. So here I am, and that is what we're going to cover today. Some few tips on ADHD parenting, finding our zen in ADHD parenting. And I had a small change to the schedule. I actually had someone write in and ask me to cover a few topics that weren't on the original agenda. So we'll cover those too. And let's get started. So first up, we are going to cover understanding ADHD. This is hard, especially if you don't have ADHD. But some of us are ADHD while ADHD parenting, so you might resonate a little bit with what I'm about to say. ADHD, or attention hyperactivity deficit disorder, is basically not that, right? Yeah, my son's a little hyper, but he's also lacks poor time management and self-regulation when it comes to emotional control and all of those things, which are what ADHD does. It hijacks our executive functioning. So memory recall, like I said, self-regulation and emotional control are big ones for us. Organization of materials. I often have clients tell me that their children loses everything. can't keep up with things, don't turn in homework, even though we completed it together, is a big one. Messy rooms, but even though they know where everything's at, right? It's basically our life skills. It's everything that we need to be a successful person can be one or all 8 of them hijacked by ADHD. So our focus and distractibility are another big one. So yes, it can be hyperactivity or lack of focus, but it can also be all of these other things. So if you have one or more of those on that list, it might be ADHD, or if you've already found the diagnosis, welcome. So what can we do? We can start teaching them in many ways to strengthen those executive functions that are not going to come naturally to them. And before you start doing that, if you are a parent like I was and you are triggered all the time to the point where you cannot enjoy this tiny person in front of you, you might want to work on your own triggers. I'll go into a little bit of what mine looked like. It got really deep really fast. But when I started working with a conscious parent coach on why I was so triggered by my kid not listening to me, two things came up. One is that I was not loved unconditionally. I was loved under a very strict set of conditions. So when my son fell outside of those parameters, I felt like, okay, he's got to fall in line or else he won't be loved. Yeah, it got really deep, really fast, really dark. The other thing that I've just very recently learned is I am triggered by him not falling into line. And it's hitting a different place. It is that if I would have acted the way he was acting when I was a child, I would have been reprimanded, possibly beaten with a belt. I know that might have been acceptable in the 80s and 90s, but the 9-year-old in me who was disciplined in that manner starts clenching up like, oh my God, he has to fall in line or else he's going to be reprimanded. Or, like I said, the earlier things, he's not going to be loved. Those are two huge, deeply dark instances. It does not have to be that dark, but you might want to take a few moments and figure out why you're so triggered. It could also be that you're an ADHD parent and life is exhausting and you don't know what to do. But take a few minutes every day, recognize what's triggering you, and keep questioning down, okay, why am I so triggered by this? If you cannot do this on your own, you can definitely reach out to a therapist. It was very helpful having someone as a psychologist, as a parenting coach. She helped me through a lot, completely changed my life, as I said earlier. The next thing that we're going to do is to teach them to strengthen their ADHD executive functioning hijacks, or we can teach them in the moment, maybe not in the moment, but after the moment of, for instance, right now it's us, these emotional blow-ups. I don't like being spoken to that way. So to train my son to strengthen that self-regulation muscle after the fact, maybe at the end of the day, you sit down and you reflect. And it could look something like, earlier, Mom didn't really handle that situation the way I would have liked to. If I could do it again, I would. Is there anything you might want to handle better than you did today? And that could be, them saying, I'm sorry that I hurt your feelings. And you say, thank you, of course. And say, if that happened again, maybe you could try. 2 reasons this is powerful. One, it's a bonding moment. You're telling your child how you feel, how you want to be treated. They're calm. They can soak all that in. 2, you're actually role playing, which is a form of visualization of what you'll do next time. And I am not by any means saying that you can sit down and do this one time and it'll take effect. Not even close. But After a while of practicing and role playing and visualizing what you would do next time, it will become reflex. And it takes your consistency, patience, and dedication to the matter means everything. Absolutely everything. So that's just one way you can strengthen those. For the organization of material, your child loses their homework or their room is messy, they're not really motivated to clean anything up, all of those things. ADHD brains work very different than discipline driven brains. Our brains are motivation based. We have to have a reward that we want at the end of this. And I know this goes against everything that we were taught as children, as when we were children, but that's how their brain works. And I should have learned this really early on. Here's an example of toddler ADHD parenting for ADHD and the reward. And if he ever sees this, he's going to kill me. But when my son was younger, it took him forever to potty train. And people were like, "You've got a boy, it's going to be so easy." Finally, they came out with these little toys called Mash'ems. They were like these little mystery toys. You had to buy one and open it to find out what it was. Yeah, not our smartest move. It was not a cheap way to potty train, but it was something that he was hyper focused on, right? Something that he really, really, really wanted. So every time he went to the potty correctly, got that down, he got a Mash'em. And at $3 a pop, roughly $200 later, we got a potty train. And it worked. And the wild thing is that things like that still work. I can give him a checklist of things I want him to do every day. Like a morning routine and an evening routine. Those are completed. You get your $10 for Robux at the end of the week. But you're going to have to find something that your kid is really, really into. For some of my parents who have teenagers as children, going out on the weekends with their friends. Like I said, it could be Robux, it could be V-Bucks, it could be pizza night, it could be going to the movies, it could be a park day, whatever motivates your children. That is what you're going to have to lean into because that's what they want. So those are just a few ways that we can train up those executive functions that are lacking. And when you do this, it will lead you right into step 2, cultivating patience. I completed a survey in a group of around 8,500 parents. And 91% of them told me that their hardest ADHD struggle was patience. And like I said before, if you complete the steps that I told you about your triggers, you will be much better poised to know what and why you were triggered. And then you can cultivate patience because once you understand your triggers, what ADHD is, you will be a lot more empathetic to what is happening. So now when my son is being disrespectful or saying things that I would rather he didn't, before I lose my cool, which I often did in the past, I can check myself, self-regulate myself, and let him know this is not cool. I do not appreciate this. I do not want to be treated this way. And then I can be more empathetic to, okay, he lacks self-regulation. He doesn't have the skills. We're learning, we're practicing, we're sharpening those strengths. It is not easy. It is not easy. I give you that. It is not an easy road to walk down and to stay on. But if you work on yourself and learn what ADHD is, like I said, you will be so in a much better position to ADHD parent. So what can you do patience wise? Once you know where your triggers are, you can start having maybe a mindful morning. For me, this looks like I get up an hour before I wake my child up. I drink my coffee, I meditate, I drop into the day and see what kind of intent I want to have for the day, not just as a mom, which is hopefully cool, calm, and collected, but also what kind of day I want to have. I want to be joyful or patient if I have something huge coming up, or I want to remain calm, or I hope to practice gratitude today, or whatever your intention is. Just start your day with some deep breathing, maybe some meditation. Decide what kind of day you're going to have and rock with that. You can also use the pause button. And the first time that I did this, it shocked my kid. And the first time he did it back to me, it kind of shocked me. I need a pause. For us, that looks like my son told me I need to count to 10 so that I do not say something I'm going to regret. And you know what? Even though part of me was like, ugh, what did he want to say that was so hurtful? The other part of me was like, yes, because that is a skill that is going to take you a long way. Knowing that you have the control to hit the pause, to drop in and say, this too shall pass. You can count to 10, you can have a mantra, you can remind yourself, I love this kid, I love this kid, I love this kid. You can do what I did this morning in my strong will training class with my coaching clients. You can remind yourself that one day this skill of being hard-headed and driven and so strong-willed is going to take this kid so far, and I don't want to take that out of them right now. I just need them to focus, to sharpen that skill a little less on me. Lastly, one of my favorites is you can laugh it off. And this might piss your kid off, but it's a lot better than hurting your kid or hurting their feelings. So laugh it off. Sometimes you just need to giggle, like we asked for this kid and now they're here giving it all they've got and we're struggling. So what can you do? Embrace the absurdity of it all. I'm trying to think if I'm missing anything on my patience. Knowing your triggers is a big one. Setting up some time for yourself is another. With the pause thing, when I was working with my conscious parent coach, she asked me to pretend that I was on a reality TV show. She told me to pretend that I was a Kardashian and pretend that I had 100 cameras in my face and that there were 300 million people going to see this, and they were going to be judging me and criticizing everything I did and said in this moment. Now, you don't need this when you're out in public because you already have those eyes on you and you're already like, okay, I'm already being judged, so let me grin and bear it. Johnny, please get in the car. Mommy's about to lose it. But at home, I was really shocked at how effective it was. And this is kind of fake it till you make it, right? But faking it till you make it saves a fight with your kid, saves your energy for the much bigger battles that you will have to face. And yeah, you're just like, okay, so I'm on a reality TV show and I'm not going to lose my cool. I'm going to keep everything. And I'm going to treat this kid right. It sounded crazy, right? I told her that. I was like, I'm not doing that. And she was like, okay, well, next time you're about to lose your crap, just try it. I actually did remember it. And I was like, okay, sir, we are going to get in the bath. We're going to do what we need to do, and I just dropped into this fake reality persona. And at first he was kind of like, what are you doing? But eventually it became my reflex. It's kind of like visualizing and role playing. You are talking yourself into a better, more calm demeanor, and it will work. So the reality TV show, I think that's my best tip, especially if you're just beginning and trying to figure out your positive parenting patient strategy. Fake it till you make it. Communication strategies. This was actually requested. So you're going to need to get down on their level. while you are Kim Kardashian and you are faking it till you make it, you are literally going to get down to their level. Say what you have to say, eye level. When we stand over them, it takes their power away. You can imagine and remember how disempowered we felt as children. Get down to their level, eye to eye contact. We're going to keep it short and sweet because let's be real, ADHD brains don't follow directions very well. If you want to know why, it is that our brains are looking for something shiny, something interesting, something that we want to latch onto. So, my coaching clients, they'll tell me, I gave my kid a list of instructions and they only did the first two. That's because they only remembered the first two. And here's why. Step one, nothing shiny in there, right? Step two, nothing shiny in there. Step three, we don't even know what that is because there's nothing shiny in this list for our brain. So we are back on what is shiny on Roblox or Minecraft or the gum that we stuck under the couch that we just remembered and we have to go back and get. Whatever is interesting for our brains, that's where we're going. So whenever you are giving instructions, short and sweet. So we're down to their level. We are giving them 1 to 2 steps at a time, max. And we're going to use our positive reinforcement. And I know, again, maybe it came normal to you, but I'm a Southern gal and this is not how we were parented. So redirecting my child from something I don't want to what I do did not come to your girl naturally. I did not know how to do this. I had to strengthen this skill on my own, and it was very difficult, right? So, what did that look like? Your child is throwing a tantrum, losing it, we're ignoring that, right? But when they pick themselves up and they do the task that you ask, you are going to praise that. You are going to praise that so hard because ADHD brains work on that dopamine basis, the reward brain basis. And when you flood them with that positive reinforcement, letting them know, I did this right, that is going to give them a huge dopamine release. That is like a hug on the inside. They are going to do so much more of that because it gave them that dopamine release and they want that. Every kid, ADHD or not, wants your approval. They don't want to feel like they are disappointing you. No kid is actively trying to disappoint you. They are actively trying to get your attention. So, positive reinforcement, praise the good, praise everything that you want because you are going to get more of that. And it is hard. It is hard to ignore or downplay the things that we don't want. And when I tell my coaching clients this, the first thing that everyone says is, so I don't discipline. Girl, please. We still discipline, right? We discipline in a much different way. We get a little woo-woo over here. I'm not even going to lie about it. Our positive discipline looks like a time in instead of a time out. And this is where I might lose some of you, but hear me out. I read an article many years into my positive parenting journey. I thought I had already figured it out, and every time I do, there is something new for me to learn. She said that if we send our children away for a time out to cool off over such and such emotion, then they are being taught that that emotion is not allowed here, that I am being shunned for feeling it and I am being sent away because of it. Yeah. It hit me hard. And like I said, I had already adapted so many of my parenting skills. I used to say, go cool off, come back when you're ready to handle this in a different way. I thought that was better than, the pop-ins that I got whenever I was a kid on my bottom. I thought, man, I've really got this figured out. Turns out I did not. And now we do a time in. And I told him that we were doing time ins, and he asked me, what is that? It's just where we're going to sit and we're going to take the pause that we talked about earlier together. Because let's be real, if you're pissed off, I'm probably pissed off too. And we're just going to sit here and woosah together. And whenever you feel like talking about whatever it is that has you so riled up, we can talk about it. I'll admit, it is pretty woo woo. I hear you. It is definitely not how your girl was parented, but it's so powerful because one of the most important things that we do in positive parenting and in ADHD parenting for many different reasons, for validation of those feelings, we let them know, what you're feeling is valid. Your feelings matter. I can see why you might feel that way. Let's talk about it. For a positive parenting, from a positive parenting standpoint, this is letting your child know that they are seen, that they're in a safe place, that their feelings matter. From an ADHD standpoint, you are letting them know that this is what we're feeling, this is how we're going to regulate it, and this is how we're going to move forward. So you're hitting so many angles with it just by simply validating those feelings and cooling off together. Powerful, powerful move on your part. Side note, a few days ago, I had a lady ask me if positive parenting was me giving up my power. We are 27 minutes in, so I think that you can tell by now, I don't feel that way. I actually feel the opposite. I feel like I was so triggered in the first 3 years of his life, I couldn't enjoy him. So I started learning all these positive parenting strategies and Kim Kardashian techniques and all of this stuff that was so foreign to me. But as I kept going, I felt like I got my power back, really. In the first 3 years of parenting, I felt like I was just being drug along, like nothing made sense. I didn't want to do this. I don't know what's happening. I'm failing. I'm failing him. I'm failing myself. All I want to do is be good for him. And then fast forward a few years, and it's like, yeah, I feel like I actually have some control over my life and my parenting and myself and my own emotions. And the more I learn about him and what I want to do for him, the more I learn about myself. And yeah, I just politely told her, no, ma'am, I feel like positive parenting gave me my power back. And if you'd like to know more about it, here's a business card and I will meet you on a one-on-one call. And she did, actually. It made me feel really good. So those are going to be our communication strategies. Sorry for the sidebar. Next up, we're going to create a Zen den. And you might be rolling your eyes, but hear me out. When I was pregnant, my midwife told me that I needed to have one room of my house clutter free, clean, as my safe space. And I was like, but when I had this screaming baby and my life went to the pooper really fast, I had this one room of my house that was fully stocked, everything we needed to thrive. That was my bedroom. Unfortunately, I should have planned that better, but that's where we spent most of our time. I had pre-made bottles, I had diapers, wipes, everything I could ever imagine. And this room of my house stayed clean because this is where I could come and woosah. It didn't matter if the rest of the house was falling to crap. None of that was my concern. I had this space for me. That's for you, mama. But for your child, I actually learned something yesterday that might surprise you. I was told that my child actually doesn't have tics with ADHD severely. He does repeat things 3 times and yell out, and we get our zoomies out. But I learned yesterday that children who are stressed, ADHD children in particular who are stressed, are more likely to develop and keep tics. So keep a clean room for you. But also, your kid might find it a little bit more woosah for themselves, right? If they have maybe one room that is perfect, not perfect, maybe tidy. They can help with this. Chores is a huge thing in our household. My kid needs to feel like he has some inclusion, some purpose that he is contributing. So your children can help with the tidying up. Have a space for you, for both of you, so that you can chill. The other reason that we want to have a tidy send in is because the number one thing that you can do for ADHD children is routine, routine, routine. And I know some of you that are not new to me, you're like, oh, here she goes. Before I knew that I was an ADHD mom and we were winging it, and I was a new mom, it was chaotic. And suddenly I went back to work and we had to have structure. We had to have a morning routine, an afternoon routine, and an evening routine. And I remember telling all of my friends, like, man, I feel like I got my life back. And I thought it was me going back to work. No, not at all. It was the structure of having to create my life around work. I had to figure things out. It was no longer, what did we watch back then? Mickey Mouse Clubhouse and snacks all day. It was, we had a routine that saved me and him. But kids with ADHD like and crave, even if they fight against it, predictability. This is because their brain is up there. But if they always know what is expected of them, if they know that what we do in the morning, for us, it's brush teeth, wash face. Not even gonna lie, my kid sleeps in his clothes because I try to make life as easy as possible for everybody. Eat breakfast, get our book bag, hug mom. That's our morning routine. He knows what's expected of him every morning. Same for evening. We have had the same evening routine for at least 7, 8 years, and he's 9. We have dinner, we clean up, we take our bath, we read some books or play a game and then read some books, and then we go to sleep. And people are like, how do you do that? Now, I will say we don't have struggles so much so as other ADHD children because we get our workouts out. We are outside, girl. We are playing baseball, jumping on the trampoline. We are at the park. We are at the trampoline park. We are at the pool. We are wherever we can be to get our wiggles out. So when I say we go to bed at 8:30, girl, we go to bed at 8:30. But the routine of it all helps this little circadian rhythm fall into line so that. And I had a mom tell me that her children were up till 11 o'clock at night. Like it was she was like, it's a struggle for me to get mine into bed before 11 o'clock. And for children with ADHD or ASD on the spectrum, how can they possibly know what to expect? How can their body get into rhythm? How can we set them up for success if they are up to 11 o'clock and then they have to get up at 6 o'clock. I don't know if you knew this, but like children under 10 need almost 10 hours of sleep every night. Same girl, same. But yeah, they need that wind down time. Their bodies need to know what's coming next. This is why it's so important for you to stay calm in the storm. They need to know that mom is going to be the lighthouse in the hurricane. They need to know what's going to happen. They need to know what is expected of them. And all of that will come with your routine and sticking to it like your kid depends upon it. The other reason that the Zen Den is so vital is that we are creating a chill space for our kids, but also we are creating a safe space for our kids. One of the most important first lessons of positive parenting, I actually think it was the first module of positive parenting, was I had to safe proof my house. And I was like, that's lesson one. And he was like, yes, it is lesson one, because how many times a day do you find yourself struggling, telling your kid, no, don't touch that, this is not safe? And I was like, It was like you're setting yourself up for failure because they do not have the freedom to play as they want, but you are stressing yourself out over a lamp or the light receptacles or the electricity receptacles. Fix it and give your kid a sensory safe place to go be free. And I was like, this is why they pay you a lot of money. Because yes, I do find myself at the time, toddler mom, don't touch that. No, that's not safe. Don't do that. Girl, take that burden off of yourself and kid proof your house and go relax somewhere with a book and just let them go for it, right? So that is our Zen Den. That is creating a safe space. That one was actually asked for. And the last one is one that everybody asks for in ADHD parenting. Self-care. And before I jump into these tips that you've probably heard 1,000 times, I want to tell you something so powerful that I actually just heard the other day from a psychologist that totally reframed it all for me. And maybe it's just me and my friends, but we're like, God, I feel so guilty. I can't take time away from my kids. I have, I can't go do something for myself. I have to be with these children. All of my friends feel that way. And she said, well, could you reframe that as, the example she used was a man who was overweight and he wanted to start exercising, but he felt like he would be taking time away from his kid. She said, could you reframe it as, I am doing this to become a better dad. I am doing this to become a better father. I am doing this to become a better example. And I was like, yeah, that hit you right in the gut, because I should be setting an example for my kid of what self-care looks like, and running around stressed out all the time, pouring from an empty cup is not doing it, right? So before I jump into these tips that I personally vouch for, could you reframe it as, I am going to do these things to become a better parent for my child? And they're all the things you've heard before, girl. No, I don't have nothing new over here. I've got to take a hot bath, go for a walk with or without your kids, a night out with friends without your kids. Don't neglect your own needs. Your body knows what you need. If you're an introvert, you can ask grandma to come and take the kids for a night out. You can ask your partner. I need 2 hours to have this house all to myself. Take the kids somewhere. If you're an extrovert, go out with your friends, go dancing, do whatever you got to do to refresh. I know it's cliche to say you can't pour from an empty cup, but you literally can't. And before, when I was running around stressing myself out about being the perfect mom, crying myself to sleep over all the things that I got wrong that day, I wasn't a very good mom. I was triggered, I was stressed, I was tired, I was overreactive, I was all of these things. And now the other day actually, he told me, I said, "How would you describe me as a mom?" He said, "You're serious but calm." And I was like, "I'm gonna take that. Thank you, sir. Keep it moving." The other thing that you can do on this ADHD parenting journey is you can connect with people, hopefully a few local, but if not online, that know your struggle and know what you're going through. If you do not have any neurodivergent parents in your friend circle, then you need to find them. An easy way to do this is you can reach out to your local library and ask them if you can create a play group. For us locally, it's Legos, but I mean, whatever works. Find your tribe. This is powerful because ADHD children often struggle with socialization and making and keeping friends. So if they have friends that are also hyperactive or distracted or a little awkward because we don't have the social skills needed to read social cues, then they don't feel so alone. But it's a double whammy because mom can also find her tribe. You can find people that know what it's like to live a Ninja Warrior course from 6 a.m. to 8:30 p.m., right? That know your struggles. I often compare neurotypical children to a lazy river and my child to a roller coaster. And while you will find support from lazy river parents, you will not find people who understand you that well. So you need to find your tribe. If this is not possible locally, definitely online. There are tons, literally thousands of ADHD parent groups on Facebook. You can find your tribe. I know some of you younger parents on here are like, Facebook? Yeah, girl, I'm sorry. But for my generation and above, Facebook, all you have to do is type in ADHD parents and you will see there are 100 results that will come up immediately. Find the group that works for you. There are ADHD parents with meds, ADHD parent groups without meds. There are ADHD parent groups who homeschool. There are ADHD parents who struggle with the school, public schools. Find your tribe. It is so important. You need people who can relate to you, and you need people who you can rant to that understand what you're going through, because the issues that you will tackle are not what every parent is tackling. And the best part about ADHD parent groups is if you're struggling with something and you don't know how to handle it, because say you're like myself, someone who is unconsciously parented and you want to do it better, you are going to find people in those groups that can tell you a better way to do it. And that is top notch support. Lastly, mindfulness practices. I know I'm kind of woo woo these days, but mindfulness is a superpower. For me specifically, I'm not so triggered now, but when your girl used to be triggered a lot, I started practicing mindfulness and it taught me to pay attention to my body cues so that I could literally feel it bubbling up before it became explosive. It doesn't have to be that woo woo. You could also just take a moment and feel the texture of your clothes. Just come back to present, cool off a second. That pause that we talked about. Meditation helped me so much along this journey. My notes say it's like a mini vacation for your mind. And I know that sounds like so woo-woo, but it is a mini vacation for your mind. It doesn't have to be meditation. It could also be prayer. You can get in touch with God, the universe, source, spirit, whatever you call them. We call them Gus, God, universe, source, spirit, whatever you need to do. Take a few minutes, meditate, pray. Girl. Lastly, what you can do on this ADHD parenting journey is you can hire a coach. And I'm not the answer to all of your problems, but what I am is your mirror. And what I can do is show you all the ways in which you are stuck and hold you accountable for making the changes that you want to see in your life, in your relationship with your kids, in your parenting, in your personality, right? I'm a whole different person since I became a positive parent and a parenting coach. Like, my mom was like, I don't even know who you are anymore. And I was like, I'm going to take that as a compliment. But that's what a coach does. I can work with you one-on-one on individual issues, or we can go the whole 12-week plan, whatever you would like to do. There is a pinned comment in the comment section that will take you to my webinar follow-up page, where basically you can send me your email and then I can follow up, and I'll let you let me know what you want and what you need to work on. If it's one specific issue, we can do that. I work with parents on one specific issue, such as homework. I've worked with a client about bedtime. I've worked with a client on setting consistent boundaries. It was a struggle for her. And I've also worked with multiple clients for 8 to 12 weeks, some longer. Some have found it more beneficial and wanted to hang around for 16 or 20 weeks. Whatever will get you to base, to a good solid baseline. Let's do that. Thank you so much for attending and listening. I know this was a little wonky. It's my first time live streaming on multiple platforms, so you're not alone in this parenting ADHD journey. It does get easier. It does, and I'm here to help. Thank you, guys.